Good evening and welcome to another episode of Unstoppable Overcomers, and I'm your host, Dorothy O'Dell, for this evening. I just want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's show, who is Owen Sharp with his new book, The Great Flood of Bovenland. It is coming out November 1st, so if you have a child or a grandchild between the age of 3 to 6, this is definitely a book you want to get your hands on for your child or your grandchild. Be a great Christmas gift. And it will be available in where all books are sold. So we're super excited for that, for Owen. And today's special guest tonight is actually Cathy Gagliardi. Did I say that right?
Gagliardi, yeah.
Gagliardi. All right. Welcome to the show, Cathy. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell our audience a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your overcoming story.
Well, it's a beautiful story in one way, and another way it's very sad and tragic. So I've always been a writer, and just, poems and stories and everything like that. But then one day I was going into work, and I saw one of my friends outside of work, and she pulled me over, and she said, she was shaking and crying, and she said, our mutual friend's son is gone. And I didn't understand. And, I knew something was really bad, but I couldn't wrap my head around it. And she said, Matt, his name's Matt, took his life. And that, at my age, and having young children, I didn't understand. I couldn't fathom that at all.
Right.
So the whole day, the whole office was just walking around like zombies. Nobody knew what to say, what to do. There's a lot of crying and just asking why. And I knew that I couldn't really help my friend. Her name is Karen. And I knew that she was with her family and friends and her church, who gave her so much faith, and they all just kept her going.
Right.
But when I went home, there was nobody around me to relate this to. And I didn't want to bring it home to my family. So I just kept it all inside. But when everybody went to bed, I couldn't sleep. These thoughts kept going through my head. Why did this happen? Why did Matt do this to his mother and his siblings? Why did he feel that was his ultimate answer? He must have just been so deep in depression that there was no other choice for him. And amongst crying and weeping, I just I had to go downstairs. I turned the TV on, but there's the shows. Everything seemed to relate to it. Like there was kids playing baseball, and I thought, oh my God, Matt will never play baseball. And every single thing. So I turned the TV off, turned the radio on, but every song kind of brought more tears. So I thought, well, I have written, if I couldn't sleep, I have just gotten a pen and paper and just wrote. So that's what I did. I just started writing. And what came from that was my story called BELLYFLIES. And it is my way of helping little children learn techniques of how to overcome butterflies in your tummy. So
Right.
it could be depression, it could be bullying, it could be all kinds of little things. In my story, it's about the child has to read in front of the class. So I thought that if they could learn these techniques when they're young, and over and over again, just be implemented in the family, then, when they get to be teenagers, the hard years, well, even children have hard years. I shouldn't say that, but through hard situations, teenagers and adults, they'll be able to draw on that and
Right.
hopefully be able to use it and hopefully cut down on the suicide rate.
Right.
It's really, yeah, it's just, especially now, it's just the mental health for children is so hard to deal with.
Right. Wow, Cathy, that's an incredible story. I'm really sorry that your friend had to go through that. As somebody who lost a family member to suicide too, I know that you're left with answers, right? And we have no idea what those answers were now. Um, you know, my uncle was older when in his 40s when he did it, and um, I couldn't imagine a child being thinking that life wasn't worth living, right? Let alone an adult. Like an adult, we have all these pressures, but kids have pressures too. And as a parent, we try not to put anything on our children, but they're sharp. They hear things, right? And in
Yeah.
school, they're bullying is still on the rampage, which makes me kind of sick to my stomach because I was bullied in school, and it's all that is out there and should not be in this day and age.
Right, right. In my book, I've created a sentence called "Mommy, I have belly flies," or caregiver, daddy, whatever. But so the child will come home from school or from wherever and just say, or not wanting to go to school and say, "I don't know what's wrong. I just have belly flies. I don't know," and then it'll start a conversation,
Mhm.
and the parent can say, where do you feel these belly flies? Like, where do you not feel good? Is it in your head, or what color are you seeing these belly flies at? All these different little questions that they can ask that will bring out what the real issue is.
Right.
And maybe they have to tell a stuffed animal to get it out of their system. I don't know. It's just
Right.
different for every child. Mhm.
Right. I love that idea though, that you've given the tools to the parents to at least start a conversation. Because yeah, when you're being bullied
Mhm.
in school, you don't go home and tell your parents generally. I
No,
know I did.
never.
I never
No.
did that. My parents didn't know what was going on until after. It was something that I
Yeah.
kept to myself, and I kept everything bottled up inside. And and nowadays kids have like every electronic known to man. My stepson is on YouTube all the time, so kids get into everything, right? And
Yeah.
you just never know, right?
Yeah,
And
they
there's
have
then
all
there's
this.
cyberbullying.
Mhm. They have all this instant information and instant gratification, but no instant relief of their emotions and their feelings that are bottled up inside their head and their stomach and their heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kids need a release, right? And from the day-to-day pressures too. And I really didn't get it until the pandemic hit. I was at home with my stepson, and man, I felt bad for the teachers because of the having to teach 20 to 30 students, and my stepson was in here in my office all the like every 2 minutes. So teacher won't help me with this and this and this, and I'm like, she's 30 students to her one, but like you got to give her time. And so during those 2 years where we were forced to stay at home, most of the time I noticed a lot of like inner struggling with our children, and just really, being they couldn't see their friends, so the isolation and things like that. So I know the suicide rate in my town was huge, well, still is, with everything that's
It's
going
skyrocketed.
on. Yeah. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And then not to mention the fact that the kids that actually go to school to get away from the abuse that's at home, and now they're at home with
Yeah.
with their abuser. It's I don't know. I didn't want to be a kid when I was a kid. Now I sure as hell would want to be a kid now.
I know, right? I know. And even if the teachers are aware that, you know, make it easy. Well, I have belly fly. So it's just casual. What seems to be the problem isn't the isn't the question to ask. What seems to be the problem is just nothing. Is just the answer would just be nothing. But if you just, ask little things like, what made you happy today in school? What made you sad today in school? What was a surprise? And then those kind of things will bring out maybe something that happened. Like at home, what's your favorite thing to do at home? I mean, if you're being abused, you may say nothing, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good. That's a part of the belly flies method then that you have developed.
Yes. So every letter in belly flies is an acronym, and I'm using it for different approaches to how to make the. I'm working with neurodivergent children, so the neurodivergent children, but anybody could use it to make them feel that they have a voice, and to make their caregivers feel less frustrated and be able to communicate a little easier, take the stress off the relationship. Um, and so and these things are what I have used before. And with my own child who has OCD, I didn't know at the time, and I really wish someone would have told me about this before, but that would have helped, like doing homework. He would come home, he's a smart kid, ready to do the homework, but it's all of the homework at once. He would have his homework sitting in front of him and he'd get overwhelmed, and then he couldn't do any of it. Well, I didn't know that with him, you have to give them certain steps to do. First this, then this. That would have made it so much easier. So I'm just, wishing that I would have had this method myself to use.
That's interesting because, wow. Okay, so you just opened up a whole world for me. I never been clinically diagnosed with ADHD or OCD, but I know I have OCD huge. And so what you just said, like, I know that my mind goes like a million miles per minute, and I know that in my head I have a list of things I have to do for home, business, work, you name it. My plate is full, and I get caught up in the how to's and I don't write things down. But if I'm being I was being taught to write it down and then just go through the list one by one and make things easier for me. So it totally makes sense what you just said right now. I'm like, well, wait a minute, because I get
Right.
overwhelmed. My desk is full of stuff and I just want to take a dumpster and dump it all. So it
Right. I
totally
mean,
makes
I
sense
could
in
never
what you
tell
just
my
said.
son, yeah, I could never just say, go clean the living room. He would just say, what do you mean? I don't understand what you mean. And then I would say, vacuum the floor, pick up the pillows, put the newspapers in a pile. I'd have to say or write down every single thing so he could check it off. But then
Right.
when I would stop in and see what he's doing, he'd be dancing around, doing the vacuuming, cleaning up. But before that, he would just be like overwhelmed. Say, oh my God, I don't know what to do. She wants me to do this. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. I noticed that you have to give a child like one thing at a time, like to do, like, because if you say, okay, go to your room, pick this, and I'll put it here, it's like their brain shuts off completely. And then you have to end up telling them 3 times to do something. And as a parent, that gets very freaking frustrating, especially when you grow up with a parent that told you to do it. And if you didn't do it, you were in trouble. So,
Right.
but
but it's not your
being a
fault.
parent, no,
Yeah.
no,
It's like when you
exactly.
put something on the bottom of the stairs and you think, who doesn't know to take
Right.
up the stairs? no, people don't know that. I mean, you know, because you put it there to go up, but people just don't know. If you would say, can you take this upstairs? They would say, sure, bring it up. But they just don't. Everybody's different, and they see things differently, react to things differently.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you said that, because I am, I shared how I grew up, and I said to my dad, especially when I was at home during the pandemic, I was just like, how how do you parent? Like, I only know how you taught us. He goes, well, you can't parent like we raised you anymore, because the world's not the same at all. And I'm like, but that's all I know. And so for parents that are listening in and thinking, wow, I totally feel you, Dorothy, and I totally get it. And it is a different world. And this world is absolutely
Right,
crazy. It, it
right.
I am thankful that I don't have a child of my own. I have a stepchild, but I don't have a child of my own that I have to be 100% accountable to, because this world's just too crazy.
I know it's hard. When I was creating this method, I didn't really realize I was creating a method. I was just writing the things down and then thinking, this is what it takes, like this is um the thing to make the frustration level go down. Like these items on here, these approaches are what it takes. So even if one of mine is yes and for belly flies, the why, it's yes and. So they would be talking and you'd say, instead of saying, what did you do in school? Say yes and leave it and let them talk and see. And it's different for every child, just like you say, but at least it's so general that it will include everybody. So if they have like my autistic student who has an amazing imagination, but when we tried to put his story into a book, we had to go step by step. Yes, and then what happens? And then is that right? Is that what your imagination wants to tell you? So everything on this list, my BELLYFLIES method, is very inclusive, and at the same time can be used definitely for a certain ASD or any child.
Right. And how would people get a hold of the BELLYFLIES method? Is that something that you teach, or is it a book that you put into a book to develop, or how is that available?
I'm teaching it now. If you go to bellyflies.com, it's my landing page to sign in to email, and with that you'll have a newsletter, and you'll see the different. There'll be pop-up podcasts. I'm going to have some recipes in there, some like kid-friendly recipes, some little updates of what's happening next, and then I'm going to be teaching the whole method. And in the new year, I'm going to be having a book for this method.
Wow. I'm just looking over your bio here. So you are already a #1 best-selling author and illustrator of children's books. And I just was reading this, that you also donate books to the Ronald McDonald House, Little Libraries, schools and families in need, locally and internationally. Understanding of children's locally and internationally. And you're also involved in the Costa Rican and Guatemalan schools and communities, which has enriched an understanding of children's emotional well-being. That's amazing. How many books have you written?
7 so far. 2 of them are actually in Spanish also, because being in Costa Rica and Guatemala, I just found the need. I know they're learning English, but they just really need to have that home language. That was amazing. Both places, I donated 40 books to their library to their library. And then we went through the communities, and then I would bring the books to the houses, because some children, they couldn't go to school for medical reasons, or they just were unable to. So I would bring the books there. What an
Wow, that's
experience.
awesome. So were you
Both
on like
places.
a mission trip?
For Guatemala, yes, we were building not building a school, but renovating the school. And with the group that I went with, they had built the school. They built the roads to the school. Now I hear that they're building a university to go with the school, just to keep the kids in longer.
Right.
It's just amazing. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. My sister-in-law actually adopted her son out of Guatemala years ago. He's in his, I want to say, early 30s. I'm sorry, Nick. I don't know I forget how old you are. But yeah. And so.
I could have easily
Yeah.
done that. I could have easily brought home tons of children. Oh my God.
I can imagine. I was in Dominican for a missions trip, and just going through the schools and that, and just, loving on the kids, and seeing the schools that they have, and playing in the, we went up on the mountain and we were playing in the fields with them. And it was just such an amazing time. Kids are amazing.
Oh yes. They have such pride. Like all the people I found that we met, they have nothing compared to what we have. And then you go into their house and they show you around with such pride, and they have nothing to give you, but you know what? They go out and they bought a bottle of Coke for us. They just like, I was in awe. I just wanted to give them everything I had, because they deserve it so much. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's funny that you said that, because I found that too. Like, the kids that we were around, they had nothing. They were happy playing with a tin can out in the middle of the field.
Oh, yeah.
And we did a skit in that. We had I went with my church, so it was we were doing like a kids Bible study skit out there with puppets and things like that. And a couple of the kids would sit and they braided my hair. I have pictures of that. And then they took my phone, took pictures of it, and then showed it to me. So, I mean, it was probably the best week of my life out there with those kids. But it was absolutely amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. They,
So, and you actually helped Owen create the book that we have up here, right? You actually were helping him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it up just a quick here. So Cathy did help Owen, write the book and a little bit of the illustrations and things like that. So that's awesome that we have you here tonight to, to share your story.
Oh, he's amazing. I gotta tell you, I learned so much from him. He's an amazing man. Like, he just has this memory and imagination and dedication to what he wants to get done. He knows what he wants to get done, and he accomplishes it. And it just blows my mind. Yeah. I just love working with him.
Yeah, awesome. Yes, and then his mother had nothing but great things to say about you, and Owen too. But yeah, it was. He is an amazing young man, and it's Cindy, his mom, and I were talking. Kids with extra needs. We're not going to say special, but extra needs. They just have an amazing way of getting into your heart, and just really. He could have used that as an excuse, but he didn't. And, sharing kindness with the world through his stories. And, when I look at children like that versus children who have everything, that are just self-entitled and just want more and more and more, and not willing to give, it's just like, man, you could learn so much if you were just, associate yourself with these people. And so, it's definitely
really
opened up the world.
Mhm. Yeah, I know when we're talking, I would make a suggestion like, "Oh, why don't we do this?" And he says, "No, no, 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 no. That's much too scary for a child. No, no, you don't want to scare the child." Like he's always thinking, "Oh, don't put it that way. It might be too hard for them to understand." He was always thinking of the children, of the children reading the book, learning how to
Right.
read, or their parent reading it to them, or whatever, their caregiver, and then them eventually reading it themselves. He's always thinking about that.
Wow. Now, see, that's incredible because you don't even have adults that have that sometimes.
I know. I know.
Uh, and so you said you have 7 books. So what are your other books?
So I have Belly Flies is my first one. The second one is Going to Build a Boat. Now that one I dedicate to my dad because he was a boat builder, and he just he included everybody. It's a very inclusive book. And so he never thought that you couldn't do anything. If he could do it, you could do it, no matter what. And it made you raise up to him. Then I have I Love Ice Cream. Again, probably for my dad. He loved ice cream.
Right.
And it teaches you that one, I Love Ice Cream and Mother Love. They're both um, they're both helping children to understand that they're not alone, that that everything around you is connected. So for like I Love Ice Cream, it's the little one saying, is love like I love ice cream? Well, absolutely it is. You love ice cream, you love the cows that make the milk, you love the farmers that help the cows, and it goes on and on. And same with Mother Love, we're all connected. So they don't have to feel alone, and they don't have to feel different, because everybody is different and the same at the same time. And then I have a little Easter one that I made for my 30-year-old son at Easter time one time because he lives away. So I wrote him a little poem, and he says, "You should make a book." So I did. And then the 2 Spanish ones are Flies and Going to Build a Boat. They're also in Spanish.
Wow. That's awesome. I love that. That you cater to children on so many different levels, because it's funny. I started this show because I wanted people to know that they were never alone. And here you are. I didn't even realize that you're making children's books so that children would know that they're never alone. So I love that. I did
Right.
not know that. Love it. Love it. And, you're right. When you started off by saying, your story started off with because of a tragedy, but through that tragedy you're helping other children, right? And you no one can help
Right.
that, but that doesn't mean that through these books and this method that you'd be able to save more children.
Yeah. So in a way, he's helping the children. He is contributing to the well-being of children's mental health and emotions. So that's what Karen and I feel, that even though it's tragic, something beautiful is coming from it. Yeah. And I've heard so many things from parents, from therapists, from teachers, from nurses about my books, that it's just helped in so many different ways. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And where can people find your books?
We can go online to Amazon, has the books, and you could go under Cathy Gagliardi or Belly Flies. You can find them up there. And they're available everywhere, but a lot of places you have to just go online to get them. Like the bookstore may not have any in stock, but you can go online to their bookstore and get them. Or from me. If you buy them from me, then I will sign and I will write a little personal message to your little.
There we go. Love that. I always like helping out, making sure that fellow authors, they know people know where they can get your book, because you know, we put our blood, sweat, and tears into the book to help other
Yeah.
people, right? Make a difference in the world. And that's why we do it.
Yeah. I don't think there's ever too many books in the world.
That is true. And, you know, okay, so I have to ask, especially now with e-readers, or you can get your Kindle on your phone now. What is the best way that you like reading your book?
Oh, in my hand, in my hand. I when my children were little, we would take forever to read a book because we'd go on each page and say, "How many butterflies are there on this page? What do you think that frog is thinking?" You know, like it would take us forever to get through each page. And there was a time when my grandmother, who was 100, she was in a retirement home, and I had the book, and I said, "Look, Grandma," my brother drew the drawings on that book, and I said, "Look what we made," and I read it to her, and she said, "Oh, read it again, read it again." So I read it to her again, and at the end, there's like it's all mostly about a little boy, but there's lots of other characters in there, and I said, "And the little boy goes to bed now, and no more belly flies." And she said, "But where is the girl?" And I thought, she's actually paying attention. So, okay, well, let's go find out. Oh, she went to her home. Yeah. So, yeah, even she just loved it. And so she always wanted to hear the story again.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Nice.
I'm not exaggerating when I said I've I've read over 10,000 books in my lifetime already. I'm 47.
Wow.
My aunt, I grew up, my dad's oldest sister lived up in Burlington. And so I would go there. And she, at the age of 16, got me hooked on Harlequin romance novels. So seriously, I bet you. So she started me on it, and then it became an addiction. And then I would go to bookstores all over and get like used books, and or go to the library. I would have totes upon totes upon totes back when I was a
Oh my
teenager of
gosh.
these books. I ended up donating some to the hospitals around where I was living at the
Oh,
time,
yeah.
and then, you know, as I get older, you know, and now that I have the Kindle, I'm like, okay, it's easier in one way, but then I think the eye strain is another thing. So
Yeah.
I do a bit of both. I'll read right from a book, or I will get it on my Kindle.
Yeah. When I'm
I
traveling,
prefer.
oh, yeah, I like to travel with my e-reader, but to open a book and change and turn the pages and then go back, which I always do, go back and say, "What is this guy? What is he about? I can't remember." You know, like, so you can't do that when you're on an e-reader, I find. Yeah.
Well, that's true. Well, the one thing that broke me of a bad habit, I had a very bad habit, because my aunt taught me this, right? So she would always read the first chapter, and then she'd skip to the end of the book, find
Oh
out what the ending
no.
was, and then go back and read, right? So literally, that's how I read books for the, you know, since I was 16 till just, I only got the e-reader within the last year. So that entire time, that's what I was doing. So you're right. With your e-reader or Kindle, you can't do that. So
No, you
um,
can't.
it broke
No.
me of that very habit.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, especially
I
if you,
always had an
oh, go ahead.
I always had an
You,
image of with my books, that children would be dragging them around, eating them, you know, and then opening them up and you know won't go to bed without them, and sure enough, people say that to me, that
oh,
they drag them around like, and then but before bed they have to read it before they go to sleep. You know, if they're
right.
having a hard day, like, yeah, hard period in their life. So I feel like those children may continue to read books, like real books. They may also
Right.
use e-readers, but I feel that the ones that really like the feeling of them will always be there.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Absolutely. Wow. So Cathy, normally around this time of the night, we have my partner would come on and we talk a little bit about what she does. And we do what's called the fundamental section of the show. So before we do the fundamentals, I just wanted to give a shout out to, let me find it here. Here we go, the Kimbra. So the Kimbra is a ritual based membership where if you need more time, money, and resources, this is definitely the place to get that. So if anybody is interested in having more time, money, and resources, definitely go to the Kimbra.com and sign up today. Tell them Dorothy sent you, and learn more about that. That's one of the things that Kimberly is invested in. So now we just have a little bit of fun with the fundamentals. So fundamentals, I always say, are, what 3 things would you want the world, would you want to leave behind in the world, or your core beliefs?
I wrote them to you, didn't I?
You did.
I feel
I can recite it if you'd want, and then you can just tell us what you mean by that if you like.
Okay, that would
So
be great.
The first one is, I have belly flies, or no more belly flies. I would like belly flies to become a common expression to start conversations. Was your number one?
So yes, yeah. So for that, around the world, children have different things that are bothering them that we can't relate to. But if around the world, internationally, they can have a word that represents things that are making them stuck and not being able to move forward. They had a word like that that is interchangeable amongst all the different nationalities. That I would love that. That would just make me so happy. And if if it helps them.
Right. I love that. Absolutely. Number 2 was, you're an advocate for neurodivergent children, youth, and adults.
So yes, I'm really finding my heart is right there with neurodivergent children and the youth and the adults that are finding it hard to communicate with their caregivers, and not just their caregivers, but their teachers, and then the teachers to the bureaucracy who's making the school, the teaching schedules and the teaching classes. So if I could help out with blending that all in together to help the teachers relate to the students or the neurodivergent students, that would be I would love to mentor children in that way as well,
Right.
with writing and using their imagination.
Right. Just out of curiosity, do you have like a group for caregivers? Because as a caregiver of a child who would have autism or excuse me, ADHD or OCD or things like that, like, I know that parents could use that support. And is that something that you offer currently?
I'm right in the process of doing that. I am working with an autism group right now to learn how I can most benefit the parents and the children, the neurodivergent children.
Right.
So I'm working on it. It's coming.
I love that, because when you have it together, let me know, because I have somebody else that has clients that have children, neurodivergent children, and so they would love some extra support. And so Yeah, that's something. When you have it together, let me know, because I could possibly
Okay.
have
Yeah.
people to send your way. Um, and number 3
Mhm.
was that you would like your books to help children worldwide and be a part of a reduction in suicide rates.
Yes, I'm very, yeah, that's really close to my heart. I'm working on another book as well, The Cookie Storm, and that's about children who are just different. No reason. I mean, there's no specific thing that they're different for. They just think different, feel different than they think other people feel, and respond and act. So it's to bring that that where everybody's different, and if you want to wear 4 layers of clothing, that's you. That's you do you. You know that saying, you do you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if I could get like my books internet, they are international right now, but if I could feel that they're healing and helping children worldwide, and I think if they help the children, I think they help the parents. People
Right.
have told me that when they're reading to their child, they feel the same thing in a
Right.
different way. So yeah, that would be ideal if I could do that.
Wow. I love that. And don't forget, guys, you can get copies of Cathy's books at bellyflies.com or on Amazon. But definitely go check out her books, because I mean, it sounds like these books can help your children, right? And at least start conversations. If your child is acting out, or something's
Right.
wrong but they're not willing to tell, just ask them, you know, about the belly flies. And
Mhm.
I love that. And it's I could see it being worldwide, like in a way to definitely connect with your child, right? So I love that.
Yeah, I would like that. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Cathy, for coming on our show today. We loved having you, and I know that I know people in the audience have definitely been helped with this episode. And thank you so much for what you do, because you know. Like you said, I would love the suicide rate to go from where it is. I believe it's
Down.
163 people a day die by suicide. Definitely down with that. It's I'm
Mhm.
with you on that one. I'm an advocate myself for mental health,
Yeah.
so I definitely
Yeah. Mm.
love what you're doing. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Oh, thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Absolutely. Is there any last words that you would like to say to our guests tonight before we wrap this up?
Um, sure. If you sign in to bellyflies.com, I would give you your free newsletter, and there'll be pop up podcast to come. There's a lot happening right now, starting out. So if it's a little bit delayed, be patient, because it's all coming. I'm very excited about this.
I love that, and I can't wait to see all that out, because I know it's going to help so many families out there,
Mhm.
get connected with their children, and I absolutely love that. So thank you so much, Cathy, for everything that you do.
Right.
We truly
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. Absolutely. All right,
Thank you
guys,
so
and
much for having me.
absolutely, we're happy to have you. And if you are a business owner that is looking, you're tired of doing video by yourself, you hate getting in front of video, but you want those ads for your those videos for your business, or would even like a trailer done, don't worry, we have just the thing for you. Definitely go to my website, www.unstoppableovercomers.com, and we would love to help you out with that, or simply connect with me, and we'll get you started. And don't forget, guys, be unstoppable in all that you do, and same time, same channel next week.